or not to be? That is the question.
Where was God? Isn't God supposed to be good? Isn't he supposed to love us? And does God want us to suffer?
10 years, you're not finished yet? Morty! Why did you do this to me?
Who are you?
Bruce? I'm God.
Bingo! Yahtzee! Is that your final answer? Our survey says God! Bing, 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 bing. Well, it was nice to meet you, God. Thank you for the Grand Canyon, and good luck with the apocalypse.
Well, it is the Ultimate Issues Hour. Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager here. Wishing you all a happy, healthy, and happy New Year. A happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year. A happy, healthy, prosperous, and trouble-free New Year. What else can I wish you? Anybody else? Come on. Any other suggestions? You know, if you have those four, trouble-free is ridiculous. Anyway, I entered the realm of the absurd. Trouble-free. The Ultimate Issues Hour is the hour each week on the Dennis Prager Show, which discusses, as the name promises, some ultimate issue. You don't get more ultimate than is there a God. And I want to bring to you a real challenge if you are a science-based atheist. You know, it's funny. I understand atheists pretty well, and I understand atheism pretty well. The atheist who says, you know what, the world is so filled with injustice, so built into the universe, or it seems to our world, I just can't believe that there's a good God out there. That makes sense to me. I have my own answers to it, but that makes sense to me. But the argument, I believe in science, and therefore I am an atheist, makes no sense to me. What is one? It's like telling me I like flowers, therefore I believe that I don't know. Therefore, my kid needs to wear a jacket to school. I mean, one has nothing to do with the other. You believe in science, and therefore what? I believe in science. Who doesn't believe in science? What science tells us information about the world. And to the best of its ability, even though it's always changing because more knowledge comes in, it gives us answers to, you know, why did it rain yesterday? Although I'm not sure it does know that because it's very hard. We can't produce rain. Anyway, I don't get it. That I don't get. This is a ridiculous notion. I believe in science, therefore I don't believe in God. But it's become now, I have read an article in Harper's, not known for a pro-God position, by an MIT physicist named Alan Lightman, whom we're going to invite on the show. And it's a real challenge. I don't know if he meant it to be a challenge. But it's a real challenge to those of you who are atheists as a result of science. Now, I'm going to read to you from this piece. The first part I'm going to read is a very long piece. Obviously, it would take the hour to read to you out loud, probably. But I want to read to you substantial little sections to give you an idea of what's involved here. There is an argument, then I'll read to you. There is an argument using science that believers in the Creator use. And that argument is this: it is so finely tuned, that is the universe, that is our galaxy, our planet, our solar system. It is so finely tuned to produce life, let alone intelligent life, that it seems to have been designed. The number of coincidences is too great. So now I'm going to read to you from our MIT physicist, whom I am certain is not a believer in God. According to various calculations, if the values of some of the fundamental parameters of our universe were a little larger or a little smaller, life could not have arisen. For example, if the nuclear force were a few percentage points stronger than it actually is, then all the hydrogen atoms in the infant universe would have fused with other hydrogen atoms to make helium, and there would be no hydrogen left, and no hydrogen means no water. Although we are far from certain about what conditions are necessary for life, most biologists believe that water is necessary. On the other hand, if the nuclear force was substantially weaker than what it actually is, then the complex atoms needed for biology could not hold together. As another example, if the relationship between the strengths of the gravitational force and the electromagnetic force were not close to what it is, then the cosmos would not harbor any stars that explode and spew out life-supporting chemical elements into space, or any other stars that form planets. Both kinds of stars are required for the emergence of life. The strengths of the basic forces and certain other fundamental parameters in our universe appear to be fine-tuned to allow the existence of life. I want to read that sentence again. The strengths of the basic forces and certain other fundamental parameters in our universe appear to be fine-tuned to allow the existence of life. The recognition of this fine-tuning led British physicist Brandon Carter to articulate what he called the Anthropic Principle, which states that the universe must have the parameters it does because we are here to observe it. If these fundamental parameters were much different from what they are, it is not only human beings who would not exist, no life of any kind would exist. Now, listen. If such conclusions are correct, the great question, of course, is why these fundamental parameters happen to lie within the range needed for life. Does the universe care about life? Intelligent design is one answer. Indeed, a fair number of theologians, philosophers, and even some scientists have used fine-tuning as evidence of the existence of God. For example, at the 2011 Christian Scholars Conference at Pepperdine University, Francis Collins, a leading geneticist and director of the National Institutes of Health, said, quote, "To get our universe with all of its potential for complexities, or any kind of potential for any kind of life form, everything has to be precisely defined on this knife edge of improbability. You have to see the hands of a creator who set the parameters to be just so, because the creator was interested in something a little more complicated than random particles." Now, if this is the case, if this is I presume, atheist physicist at MIT writing about how finely tuned the universe is to produce life, well then, why aren't more scientists or other people willing to accept the idea of intelligent design? That's exactly what fine-tuning suggests, right? That there's a fine-tuner. Fine-tuning implies a fine-tuner, right? Right. So, what happened? Intelligent design is an answer to fine-tuning that does not appeal to most scientists. Of course not. And I'll explain why when I'm finished with this. So what is the explanation? Now, here is where a drum roll is necessary. You must understand the drama of this moment intellectually. If scientists now understand how finely tuned the universe is, that there are so many variables, the slightest difference of which the axis of the Earth, the rotation of the Earth, the electromagnetic force, any of the four basic forces of physics. Any of these, what he mentioned about helium, about hydrogen, about stars, if any of them were a little bit different, there would be no life, let alone intelligent life. So then, the reason for the drum roll was, what do scientists say about this? If they acknowledge how bizarre it is that there is life, that it's so obvious that it's been fine-tuned, what is their explanation? And I will tell you when we come back. Hello, my friends. You are listening to the Ultimate Issues Hour. Third hour on Tuesday devoted to the great issues of life. So I devoted a fair amount of time reading a long article in Harper's Magazine by a physicist at MIT who describes a real quandary in which physicists and other scientists who are atheists now find themselves, and he is not writing from a pro-God or belief standpoint. He's just describing what, in fact, the dilemma is. And the dilemma is very, very simple, actually. It is clear now to scientists, to physicists, that the universe in which we live is fine-tuned to produce life. And just like the Big Bang suggests or suggested when it came out, the Big Bang disturbed a lot of scientists because it said, guess what? There really was a beginning to the universe, and a beginning suggests a creator. See, many of you may not remember, but prior to the Big Bang, do you know what the atheists all said? Oh, just like you believers believe God was always here, we atheists believe that the universe was always here. Ta-da! And that ended the argument for the atheist. You have an eternal God, we have an eternal universe. What would you like for lunch? That was the argument. Well, it turned out that the universe wasn't eternal, that it had a beginning. Very disturbing, Robert Jastrow in his magnificent book, which is up at DennisPrager.com, and the books that most influenced me, titled God and the Astronomers. And he was head of the Goddard Space Center at NASA. Big astronomer. And he wrote, it really bothered my fellow astronomers, and he himself was an agnostic, but it bothered them that there was a Big Bang because it suggested a beginning, and a beginning suggests a maker. Well, guess what? Scientists are now in another quandary. You see, because the media is filled with secularists, you get a distorted impression about what the debates are about. The truth is, it's the scientists that are having troubles, not the believers. But if you were to read the popular media, you would think that atheism is in the ascendant, which it is, by the way, I agree. And all these books, the late Christopher Hitchens and others writing all of these books about atheism, but the truth is science is now, the scientist atheist is in trouble. But it's going to take the lag between the reality and the perception of the public is very long. And now, as I said, we had our drum roll. So now that it is clear to physicists, and remember this is an MIT physicist writing this article, now that it is clear to physicists that only fine-tuning could have made life, do they now believe in God? No. So what do they come out? I want you to think for a moment. I admit, by the way, I could not have come up with the answer, so don't feel bad if you can't. It's so absurd. The answer is so absurd that you would not have come up with this answer on your own. How are scientists who still refuse to believe that there's a creator, how are scientists dealing with the fact that life is so utterly finely tuned and so presumably rare? Okay, the answer, here we go. Intelligent design is an answer to fine-tuning that does not appeal to most scientists. The multiverse offers an other explanation. Multiverse, not universe. If there are countless different universes with different properties, for example, some with nuclear forces much stronger than in our universe, and some with nuclear forces much weaker, then some of those universes will allow the emergence of life, and some will not. So this is how they answer it. Under the laws of physics, under the laws that we have established for this universe, it is clear that life has been finely tuned. But, sorry believers, there are an infinite number of other universes with totally different rules. They don't have an electromagnetic force. They don't have a gravitational force, so these things don't apply. To which one might then ask, okay, dear atheist scientist, is there a shred, I mean a shred as in a scintilla, of evidence for other universes? No! There isn't. So they rather believe in the absurdity of other universes with entirely different rules of existence than believe that there was a creator. Reminds me of, I think it was Hoyle, the famous astronomer, also an atheist, who also concluded that life on Earth was so rare, and he realized it didn't come from non-life. So he speculated that extraterrestrials spread life seeds on Earth. This was more acceptable to this atheist, extraterrestrials spreading seeds on Earth, than a God. The absurdity, my dear friends, is not in the believer. The absurdity is in the atheist. Doesn't mean that you're not a nice person. It has nothing to do with being nice. The position is absurd. You can say, look, as I said, I began the show. I said, if you don't believe in God because the staggering amount of unjust suffering just seems to you to suggest that there's no creator who is in any way benevolent, okay, I understand that. But if you tell me you can't because of science, I have no respect for your position. You want to be an atheist? Fine, that's fair. Just say it then. Be honest with yourself. I want to be an atheist, and I will make up any nonsense in order to escape the inevitable conclusion that this has been finely tuned. I will even make up the utter absurdity that there are an infinite number of other universes that we have absolutely no awareness of, and could not have an awareness of because they function under different rules. But I rather believe that than that there is a God. Okay, so be it. 1-8-Prager-776. How do you, my dear atheists, react? You're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. This is the Ultimate Issues Hour, and I'm shaking my head. I don't know how you can hear this if you're an atheist who takes your atheism as a result of science and not be shaken to your foundations. I just don't know. There's only one possible answer, and that is that you have built up psychological blocks, and this is not meant to insult or degrade in any way. A lot of believers do the same thing. They build up psychological blocks to thinking things through clearly. It happens on all sides in different issues. But on this one, I have lost respect for the person, and only in that area. They may be a great person otherwise, but I've lost respect. This article has made me lose respect for the argument that science has led somebody to atheism. Now, if you could say anger and injustice has brought you to atheism, I can understand that. I respect it. But don't hand me this nonsense. Science has led you to atheism. You're ignorant of what the latest thinking in science is if that's what you say. That's why this article in Harper's by an MIT physicist who I have no reason to believe believes in God is so important. Everything was finely tuned, and it's so finely tuned, and it's so obvious that it suggests a tuner, capital T, that what the scientists are now saying is, well, there are other universes. And if there are enough universes, then in one of them it'll just so happen that this tuning occurs. That's how they get out. But it's an absurdity. How absurd is it? I'll tell you how absurd it is. He himself writes in here about this, and let me read it to you and then take your calls. Let's see. As before, one is compelled to ask the question, why does such fine-tuning occur? And the answer many physicists now believe, the multiverse. A vast number of universes may exist with many different values of the amount of dark energy. I didn't read to you the part on dark energy, which is the bulk of the universe. Our particular universe is one of the universes with a small value permitting the emergence of life. We are here, so our universe must be such a universe. We are an accident from the cosmic lottery hat containing zillions of universes. You hear that? Zillions of universes. I'll read to you in a moment the evidence for other universes. We happen to draw a universe that allowed life, but then again, if we had not drawn such a ticket, we would not be here to ponder the odds. So he concludes. Now, listen carefully. Not only must we accept that basic properties of our universe are accidental and uncalculable, in addition, we must believe in the existence of many other universes. Now, here comes the punchline. But we have no conceivable way of observing those other universes and cannot prove their existence. Thus, to explain what we see in the world and in our mental deductions, we must believe in what we cannot prove. Sound familiar? Theologians are accustomed to taking some beliefs on faith. Scientists are not. All we can do is hope that the same theories that predict the multiverse also produce many other predictions that we can test here in our own universe. But the other universes themselves will almost certainly remain a conjecture. So the scientist is now in the position of doing exactly what he has derided all of those of us who believe in a God. Taking something completely on faith. And folks, there's a hell of a lot more evidence for God than there is for other universes. So the old statement of the church father Tertullian, credo quia absurdum est, I believe because it is absurd, now applies to the physicist, to the scientist, atheist. I hereby announce, I've never said this, never. I have no respect for atheism based on science. I have no intellectual respect for it. You are self-deluding, and I don't respect self-delusion.
At the speed of light. At the speed of light.
All right, my friends, you're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. A reminder that this hour of the Ultimate Issues Hour is a good reason for people to subscribe to the show. You may want to play this hour for some friends who still think that science inevitably leads to atheism. As I said, and I've never said this in my life. I've said I've differed, but I now have no respect for that position. I have respect for atheism, but not based on science. You could say you're an atheist because as I said, you just find the world so randomly unjust that you can't believe that there was a good God who created it. And that's fine. And not the. Don't give me the science. Science leads to belief that one belief. The fine tuning is extraordinary for this universe to produce this life. So many variables. I read to you from the MIT physicist would have to, any one of them a little different, there would be no life, let alone intelligent life. So what do? Well, it's not the only universe. There are zillions of universes. Is there any evidence for any other universe? None whatsoever. Is it completely taken on faith? Completely taken on faith. And why do you take it on faith? Because we rather believe in a zillion universes than in a God. That does not elicit my respect. Rochester, New York. Jamie, or
Hi,
Jimmy.
Dennis. I want to take a long-time listener, by the way. You're fabulous. I hope you come on in Rochester. But, Dennis, I think it is legitimate for an atheist to come by that belief because of science, in the sense that people's framework with regard to whether or not there's a God is whether or not their religion is true. So it's really a distinction between theism and deism. But if science debunks many of the myths of religion, which it does, I don't think you can dispute that, evolution is just the obvious one, then why is it asinine for somebody to make the leap to atheism? I'm personally an agnostic. I believe that the height of wisdom is to proclaim your ignorance about the cosmos. But why is it so ludicrous to believe that there is no God when religion is so soundly debunked?
I don't think religion is soundly debunked. Well, give me a big debunk. Let us say you believe in evolution, as you said. Fine. Why does that debunk religion? Because why it only debunks religion if you define evolution as having to preclude a God. But that is arrogance. That's not science.
No, I think you're talking about deism versus theism. I agree with you.
Oh, wait. Even if I am talking deism versus theism, it still means that you can't be an atheist.
I mean,
deism comes from deity. If there's no atheism, means there's no deity. There's no basis in science to say that. You're right. It does. I agree with you. I argue. I say that science cannot be atheistic. It cannot deny a deity. I didn't say that, therefore, the God of the Bible is true. I believe in the God of the Bible, but that's not. I haven't even uttered the word Bible. I'm talking about a creator of intelligence of this universe producing this life. Scientists are up the creek without a paddle, and their arrogance and that's what it is. It's total. It's just arrogance. It has nothing to do with science anymore. That's the point. Their leap of faith to a multiverse is much, much greater than my leap of faith to a God. That's the point. And Jamie, thank you. Appreciate your calling. And let's go to Bill, the other side of the country in San Diego. Hello, Bill. Dennis Prager.
Hello, Dennis Prager. Very nice to talk to you. I've been listening to you for years and years and years.
Wow.
And I get a lot of enjoyment for it. Just not every day. I drive a truck. And
Great. Oops, sorry. You drive a truck and you listen to me in the truck? I don't know. Yep. With the new laws, you may not be able to listen to radio anymore.
Yeah, I'm in California, I believe it.
That's right. Exactly. Go ahead.
You have turned me from an atheist to an agnostic over the years. That's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm halfway there.
No, well, you're not going to get the other half.
Well, who knows? Who knows? We'll try.
The God of the Bible, or the God of that anyone thinks they know of, there's just about enough proof in that as proven that there isn't a God. I don't think we have any.
By the way, if you're right that the evidence is 50-50, well, I don't know why you would live as an atheist when you could live as a believer. If intellectually you acknowledge it's 50-50, why make the choice for atheism?
Because there's no proof on the other side.
Yeah, but there's no proof on the... Wait, but you're right. Fair enough. So, but you just said it's 50-50. So why live like an atheist if you could live like a believer?
Well, why would I want to?
Because it's a far
understand.
deeper, it's an infinitely deeper and more fulfilling life.
Well, I think my life's been very fulfilling, and with my children and my wife and my business and the things I do, I'm a very happy man, and it's very fulfilling. But I can't see that.
Right, but you recognize that if there is no God, it's ultimately meaningless.
No, I disagree with that.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll argue that another time.
That's
where
another
that,
time. That's nothing
yes,
to do
okay.
with that portion of it. I agree with you. But Dennis, you're totally right that you look at a flower. How could it just come about from nothing? It's amazing that it's there. Was it there coincidentally, or was it there by a God? I don't know.
Well, all right. Well, but the argument that this article is presenting is that the coincidences are so great that they are clearly tuned to do this. The chances are as if you would put one ball on one lottery wheel number 10,000 times and every time hit it. Nobody would believe that you didn't have some ability to manipulate that wheel. If you got the right number of all the numbers on a roulette wheel 10,000 times in a row, the fine-tuning of this universe to make life is more remote than your winning in roulette 10,000 times consecutively. I think this has been one of the most important Ultimate Issues Hour ever broadcast, and I try to make every one the most important. But it's new data coming in. Jersey, United Kingdom. For those of you who don't know, the show is heard around the world. It's unbelievably easy to hear it on the internet. There are many ways to do so. So in the United Kingdom, it's Clive. Hello, Clive. Dennis Prager.
Yes, hello, Dennis.
There we go. I knew it. I knew it would be clearer than anybody calling me in L.A. What
Not only that, but
do
I'm
you
calling
have
on a mobile.
You know, it's depressing, sir. It is depressing.
Sorry to interrupt you, Dennis.
All right, go ahead.
I think there's a bit of a delay on the line. I'm also calling from a mobile, which makes it even more remarkable.
I said it was depressing how good it is. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to take issue with you on what you said. I'm a long-term listener, by the way, and enjoy your show. But I want to take issue with you on what you just said about not having respect for people who claim to be atheists on the basis of science because of this latest article that you've read about the multiverse. I haven't read the article, but I've heard a little bit about this theory before. My point is very simple, that science is, by the way, I have a scientific background. Science is based on observation and experiment. So anything which cannot be observed and cannot be proved or verified experimentally is, by definition, not science. So if somebody is talking about these multiverses, and there is no way conceivably that we could verify the existence of these multiverses, then they're not talking about science. It's basically a faith position. So it's on a par with a religious. It's basically a theological discussion. It's not a scientific discussion.
Right. We are in total agreement, Clive. But what I'm saying is I didn't say I disrespect the atheist. I disrespect the position that science suggests atheism. I don't hold it tenable in light of the fact that scientists are confronting, apparently for the first time, the fine-tuning argument as being legitimate. And so you have to come up with an explanation. Of course, you could say, we don't know now. I guess that's fair. Would that be your answer?
That would be my answer. And I think any self-respecting scientist, and the scientists that I respect are the sort of people who are quite happy to say, we don't know.
Okay, and I believe you, and I wish I could continue. I would just say that I don't think you'll ever know.